Hi, it's Alexis Hasselberger, time management and productivity coach. Are you taking a vacation this summer? I hope so. Now, let me ask you another question. Are you planning to check email or Slack on this vacation, right? Or not are you planning to, but are you probably going to, even if you don't plan to, right? I would suspect that you might be saying yes. And I want to turn that yes into a resounding no. So I want to tell you something. I have in the 20 plus years that I have been, in the workforce, right? Or even more than that if you count, these pre-college jobs. I have never once checked email on a vacation. Although I will say the pre-college jobs, we didn't have access to email back then. So in the last 20 or so years, I have never once checked email on a vacation. I haven't checked Slack on a vacation. These are not things that I do, right? And you too can have a vacation free from your email, free from Slack, free from checking in and staying connected. You can have a vacation where you disconnect completely. Now, why should you do this? Well, first, just because rest and relaxation are important, right? Being able to have time that's just for you and not for your job. I mean, that's actually just really important for a lot of us. It is, is worthy in and of its own right. Now, the other side of this, right, is that disconnecting can be a pretty powerful productivity tool. So if you need a good excuse, even though you definitely don't need an excuse, but if you feel like you need an excuse, then you can tell yourself, well, disconnecting is going to help me be more productive when I return. But I really think you should consider just the fact that disconnecting is something that you will like, right? It will be enjoyable, right? Not to have to think all those work thoughts while you're on your vacation, right? Not to have work kind of interjecting in there. And so if you want to, if you want to think about this, I want to share with you just what some of my experiences has been, right? So you might be thinking, has something bad ever happened when you didn't check email or didn't check Slack on vacation? And this is a resounding no. Nothing bad has ever happened, right? Literally nothing bad has happened. And here's why. Nobody uses email or Slack or any form of written communication in an emergency, right? In a true emergency, if you are really, really needed for a true emergency, and it is very unlikely that this will happen, then people will hunt you down and find you. They will call you on the phone. They will figure it out, right? But this is just so unlikely to happen. And the reason why it's unlikely to happen is perhaps maybe a little bit of an uncomfortable truth. And this is that none of us are as important as we think, right? The world is not going to end because we are not at our desk doing our job or checking email. Like people will figure things out, right? Or something can wait a little bit for you to return if it really has to. But really, we're just a little bit less important than we think, or maybe than we want to believe. And so that is why there's nothing really bad that has ever happened when I have not checked email on vacation. I've taken long vacations, 3 weeks at a time, et cetera. I've never checked email on it. So nothing bad will happen, right? Now, if somebody really does need you, they will figure out another way to get you. And I think once in the last 20 years, I have ever had somebody reach out to me on vacation, like with a phone call where they really needed me for something. And if my memory serves correctly, it was when I was the only HR person at a company and somebody had quit while I was gone. And like the CEO didn't know how to do all the HR paperwork and kind of get them off. So I talked him through it, spent 10 minutes on the phone, talked him through it. He figured it out. And when I got back, I made sure that any type of thing like that, where I was the sort of single point of failure, had a process that was defined and that was given to the right person before I left, so that I didn't make that mistake again, that people don't need me anymore to be there, that there's a fallback if I'm not there, right? So that's one time in 20 years that anyone has ever had to reach out to me while I was on vacation. And it's not like I didn't have important jobs. Like I had teams who worked for, who worked for me. And I was often in roles like chief of staff or director of operations and things like that. It's not like I didn't have important work to do. But you can take a break and you can do so without checking your email. Now, did a lot of good things happen? Yes, lots of good things happened. Namely, people learn to figure stuff out for themselves. So when you check email, when you get back from that vacation, you will find that like 70 to 80% of the things have already been resolved, right? And there'll always be a handful of things that you're going to want to chime in on, or that were waiting for you because they needed your approval or something like that. These are not problems, right? But people figure stuff out. They learn on their own. And I'm going to argue that that is better for them and their career development. And it is better for you because now they're empowered, right? So they can do those things on their own. Now, if you're thinking, okay, well, what if I don't check email? And then I come back to hundreds, thousands of emails. yeah, that will likely happen, right? 100% this will happen. And so you have a couple of options here. Now, one thing I've seen people do, I don't do this, it's pretty brazen, but I love it, is to just say, in their out of office reply, I will not be checking these emails when I return. So if you need me for something, send it to me again after a certain date. And it's not that much extra work for the person because they can just schedule send it for that date, right? So there's that option. What I do is I actually just block off the first full day that I'm going to be back. And that is the day that I'm not having meetings. I'm just getting back up to speed. And so I would say for every vacation I've ever taken, I've been back to inbox zero on day one. And that's because I blocked off that time so that I knew that that's the thing that I needed to get back to, right? I was getting my task system in order, getting my email completed. All of those things are going to make sure that you can get back into it really quickly instead of feeling like you have to dig yourself out over weeks and weeks and weeks when you come back. So here's what I want you to do. I want to encourage you this summer when you take a vacation, if you take a vacation, I want to encourage you to really resist the urge to check email, to check Slack. Let people know in advance that you're not going to be checking email and Slack. Put it in your out of office reply that you don't have access to email or Slack, right? That you're on vacation. Let people know so they're not expecting things from you during that time. And if you are really struggling with, whether you'll be able to make this happen, there are a few things you can do to help, right? Because it's always easier for us to remove temptation than to resist it. And I know work email doesn't sound like a temptation, but honestly, it kind of is in this case. And so there are a couple things we can do. One of them is that you can remove Slack and email from your phone, right? You're probably not going to be sitting at a laptop on your vacation. And so if you remove them from your phone, it is much, much harder for you to check. And then another thing you could do, if that doesn't even feel like enough, is take a vacation somewhere where you actually do not have access to cell or Wi-Fi service, right? Usually this means camping. So if you go for like just maybe even a long weekend or a few days, you go camping, you're going to be probably someplace that does not have access to cell or Wi-Fi, right? And so you physically cannot check, right? You cannot check. You're preventing yourself from checking. This is also a really inexpensive vacation, and there's probably a camping area somewhere within an hour or two's drive of you. So that is one option too, if you want to kind of an easier way into this, gain some confidence around this before you maybe take a couple weeks where you're not checking your email. All right. So if you like this kind of content, if you would like to, be spending more of your time doing the stuff that you want to and less of your time doing the stuff that you don't want to, then make sure that you're subscribed to my channel here so that you will get these videos every single week, every Monday. They will show up in your feed.
Hey guys, video editor here. Just like she said, make sure to subscribe to the channel because it really helps us out a lot. And if you're already watching our videos, please make sure to subscribe because I guess it really helps out the channel a lot. And we would appreciate it if you did it.